What are the strangest things you have seen at your best friend's house? My best friend, let's call him Bob, has this house that's basically a treasure trove of the bizarre and the hilarious. One day, I was over at his place, and we decided to play some video games in his basement. Now, the basement was always a bit creepy, dimly lit and filled with all sorts of random stuff. But nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to witness. As we're engrossed in our game, Bob suddenly goes, "Hey, you wanna meet my pet raccoon?" I paused the game, thinking he was joking. But no, Bob was dead serious. He gets up, goes to this closet in the corner of the room, and opens the door. And there it is, a freaking raccoon, just chilling on a little cushioned chair like it's the most normal thing in the world. I was in shock, but Bob seemed completely nonchalant about it. He starts telling me about how he found this raccoon as a baby, and it had somehow become his gaming buddy. Apparently, they'd sit together for hours, playing games and snacking on popcorn. The raccoon was even trained to pass him the controller when it was his turn. It was like a gaming partner straight out of a fever dream. But the story doesn't end there. As I'm trying to process all this, Bob's mom comes downstairs with a plate of cookies. She sees us and the raccoon, and without missing a beat, she says, "Oh, you've met Rocky, haven't you? He's such a polite little fellow." She proceeds to feed the raccoon a cookie, and I'm just sitting there, wondering if I've stepped into some alternate universe. I stayed over at Bob's place a lot, and Rocky the raccoon became a regular part of our gaming sessions. I even got used to his little raccoon hands trying to steal my snacks. It was the weirdest and funniest thing I've ever experienced in someone's house. To this day, whenever I think of Bob's place, I can't help but laugh at the memory of his gaming raccoon companion.
I've got a story that's quite the roller coaster of weird and funny, but it didn't happen at my best friend's house, rather at a friend of my best friend's. So, my best friend invited me over to his buddy's place for a casual hangout. Little did I know, I was in for a peculiar surprise. As soon as we entered, we were greeted by an army of taxidermy animals. I'm talking everything from squirrels in tuxedos to deer wearing sunglasses. The living room was like a quirky wildlife museum, and it was impossible not to chuckle at the absurdity of it all. But that wasn't the end of the oddities. In the kitchen, we found a collection of vintage toasters. And I'm not talking a couple, there were dozens of them lined up along the countertops. Apparently, our friend's friend had a deep appreciation for the evolution of toasting technology. But the grand finale was the bathroom. There, we discovered a bathtub filled to the brim with rubber ducks, all wearing various hats and costumes. It was a rubber duck costume party in the tub. We couldn't help but burst into laughter at the sheer randomness of it. That visit to my best friend's house was an adventure I'll never forget.
So, my best friend's house has always been a bit eccentric, to say the least. But one day, I walked in and saw something that left me utterly shocked, weirdly amused, and slightly horrified, all at the same time. Let me set the stage. My friend is a collector of unusual items, from vintage taxidermy to antique dolls. But nothing could prepare me for what awaited me in his living room that fateful day. As I walked in, I noticed the usual quirky decor, shelves filled with porcelain figurines and an assortment of stuffed animals. But the centerpiece of the room was a massive, life-sized wax statue of none other than Nicolas Cage. Yes, you read that right, Nicolas Cage. And not just any Nicolas Cage, but a wax statue that looked like it had been lovingly crafted by a deranged artist. It was eerily lifelike, complete with his signature maniacal grin and wild eyes. My friend had somehow acquired this bizarre masterpiece, and it was the first thing you saw when you walked into his house. As if that wasn't strange enough, my friend proudly explained that he had a tradition whenever he watched a Nicolas Cage movie. He would light a dozen scented candles around the wax statue, turn off all the lights, and watch the movie in the flickering candlelight while talking to the wax cage as if he were in the room with us. It was like some twisted ritual. But the weirdest part? My friend swore that the wax cage responded to him. He claimed that the statue's eyes would follow him around the room, and on a particularly stormy night, he even said he heard it whisper, "You don't say." Just like in one of Cage's famous movie lines. I couldn't decide whether to be horrified or burst into laughter. It was simultaneously one of the funniest and creepiest things I'd ever witnessed. My friend's house had always been a treasure trove of oddities, but this wax cage took the cake.